Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is February 2nd, 2024, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the U.S. markets bouncing right back. But before we get into that, let's look at today's major economic events. So we start out the day at 3:30 South African time out of the United States. Non-Farm Payroll coming out, and then at 5 p.m. U of M revised consumer sentiment number coming out. Now looking at today's corporate earning results, today we have ExxonMobil and Chevron, two of the largest oil companies in the world, coming out with their quarterly earning reports. Now looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, major pairs still unchanged. And as we look at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, I've spoken about before, did bounce back. Now looking at commodities, gold moves higher while oil continues to slide lower. If yesterday everything sold off, today everything bounced back. I'm talking about the stocks almost across the board. And lastly, look at cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin gaining slightly, but showing some strength. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start with the Euro USD. Day to day, I don't want to say this has changed so much because I look at this and say it's a 100 pip spike, but it's not that big of a deal because it's the British pound, and the British pound has historically gone 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pips within a year. And for the past, I don't know, 2 months, we've been in a 100 pip range, okay? And sure enough, that's where we found ourselves yesterday. We were at the bottom of the range. We bounced about 100 pips. Maybe out of that trade, you could pull out 50 pips, 60 pips. Really a very hard trade to take advantage of, okay? The Euro USD almost trading identically, okay? Did bounce above from 108-ish level up to 108.80-ish level. That's 80 pips, a little bit less. And that's, you know, very natural of these two currencies because the GBP is a little bit more volatile than the Euro. But all intents and purposes, that's very hard to trade. So I don't want to jump into this too much, and I want to delve in other things. So let's jump into gold. Gold solidifying itself, okay? Really gaining this week from 2010 right back up to 2050. Now we're at that top of that range. That's a $40 range. That's not bad, okay? Now we're at the top of the range. If we don't break out, we're going to come back down. And just keep our mind on this. Be mindful of this because this is easy trades. Now jumping into oil, we did slide right back down after we had a nice pull up this week. But ultimately, it's been a very choppy ride for oil as well. Now, the oil companies are coming out with their quarterly earning reports, so this is going to be a little bit on the limelight today. There's a little bit of a discrepancy between how the oil companies do and the price of oil sometimes, and that's because of all the other factors that are involved with shipping costs and all that other stuff that they tag on before it gets to the pump. So keep that in mind that there will be some correlation, but not too much of a correlation between these two numbers. Now jumping into the US markets, here we go. Dow Jones right back at itself. It's like we had a V formation. Look at that. We sold off 300 points. We gained back 300 points, and we're right back on our highs. If we look at the NASDAQ also. But the NASDAQ did trickle lower for a longer period of time, but it's almost right back at its highs. It's not on its dead highs, but it's almost back on its highs. If we look at the individual stocks, let's take a look at Apple because that was in the limelight this week. Sold off and then bouncing off of that 200-day moving average. That's a good place for us to bounce. If we look at Facebook, in the news this week because Mark Zuckerberg is speaking to Congress. He was testifying in front of Congress this past week, really being grilled on some of the negative effects that Facebook and Meta have had on the general public. Lots of very disturbing things, and it's affecting the price, obviously, okay? So with that said, it's rebounding, okay? So Facebook is still there in the mix. Now, Microsoft also rebounding yesterday above $400. That's a psychological big number from $397 above to $403. That's a $6 move. Not bad in itself. Looking at Google also, this gap down after decent earnings. Question is whether or not it'll bounce as well. What was the other one that bounced? Amazon. Amazon's still been very, very strong. Consumer spending is still up there. So Amazon is still showing some strength at $160 a share. Now, before they split, they were at about 120. So this is all-time record highs, okay? So keep that in mind as well. Netflix also strong on its highs for the year as it's still bouncing back. Now, looking at AMD and NVIDIA, also very, very strong, back on their highs. And this could be all factored in, and in the anticipation that AI is going to save the day in 6 months to a year from now. So keep that in mind. Lastly, looking at Bitcoin, showing some strength here, 43,167. It's a choppy market. Keep that in mind. It's does nothing and then does something, does nothing, and then does something. If you're a scalper and you could, spend your time kind of looking at this and taking advantage of these type of very quick plays, God bless you, okay? But it takes a scalper, okay? It's not one that is somebody who's just trading the markets as a position trader. That means 3 to 4 or 5 days, because it's really very difficult to trade this with that. Keep that in mind. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day and a beautiful weekend. Thank you.